Hello and welcome to the Connect to Support guide for creating a social care directory profile. You'll need to create a profile for each of the services that you offer. So if you provide extra care and a care home, you'll need to do one service for each because it's not an organization advert, it is a service advert. So please bear with us while I explain that as we go through the video, but bear that in mind that you'll need to do this service specific. So you could have come to Connect Support for a variety of ways. However, I'm just going to start on the home page. What you'll need to do is you'll need to click onto the social care directory and then click add a listing. This will bring you to this page. So you can see it's for Bradford Council, it's for a product or a service directory. Please, under no circumstance, select a category. This does complicate the system on the back end of things. People do like to select categories. You don't need to select that. That is because this form is used by a variety of local authorities, all which have the Connect to Support platform. That's not used by Bradford. Please do not select a category. So the first bit you'll need to complete is the directory name. Now what I've done is for this template and to help me for the guide is I have pre-filled some answers to this that I will be copying and pasting as I go through. But for your directory name, you'll need to name your service. Again, as I mentioned, this isn't for your organization, it's for your service. That can be a variety of different things. If you are the same organization name but with different services, you can put Care for You dash home support or Care for You dash supported living. It is up to you how you name it. Just make it very clear on what service you're trying to advertise. So in terms of description, you'll just want to put a little bit about who you are, what you provide, what the service provides. So as you can see here, I have just put on this one just how to complete the description area. So service you can provide, it can be as long as short as you want, but make sure that you are advertising the service that matches the one in the directory name. Also mentioned in here, if you do not wish to complete any of the sections, so in terms of that we mean the sections between contact details and the CQC ID, you don't need to complete those two, but I'll come to that at a later stage. Make sure you don't type in NA or we do not provide. All you have to do is leave it blank and that section won't appear. So the next bit will be your contact details and organization name. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to copy and paste a few things in here, but you've got your service name there, your organization name there. You'll have your address details. So, for example, if it's a care home, it'll be the same address that you deliver the care at. If you do have a different sort of information, what you might want to do in here is put in here that the address given is our office address, for example, if you're a home support provider, and that way people will know that that's not actually where you're delivering the care from. For other services, it won't matter, but for those that deliver care different to their address, you'll want to mention that. I'm just putting in a few details so it completes a template so that people know what it looks like, but we're using an address for Britannia House because that helps people search for this and the template will appear. If you use Britannia House, you'll be able to search by postcode and that will come up. You will be able to use the top bar to search it also. So as you can see, I've just put in generic information there so people will see what it looks like. You will note that if you put a space or anything like that and the email becomes invalid, it will actually tell you. So it's useful to know that because it will actually affect the URL link once live. So contact details. So what I would advise for here, so if you have, for example, a specific line for referrals or a specific line for head office that's different to the information that you've given above, make sure you put it in here and you put the reasons for that number. So if you put the number, then in brackets new referrals, or in brackets change of service, that sort of thing, just so then people know what the numbers or the email addresses are for. So what do we offer? So essentially what you'll need to put in there is the service that you provide. So we provide home care, or we provide supported living, or we're an early help and prevention service that supports people in the local community, that sort of thing. That's what you'll need to put in there. It can be a little bit of a repeat of what you put in the description, but this is more targeted in terms of specifying what we offer and all the other questions in terms of who we support. It's to help break it down and be a little bit more manageable for people that are trying to really understand what your service is. So the next one, in terms of who do we support, so this would be the types of care and where you support people and that sort of thing. So as you can see there, in their own homes, our focus is older people with physical disabilities. So that's what sort of thing that's the sort of thing you would type in there. The next one, so how do you access this service? So you could say that you need to have a Care Act assessment and be signposted by a social worker, or you can ring us direct and pay independently or pay privately. However your service is accessed, that's what you'll put in there. So how long can you support for? This will only be relevant for some services, because for example, care homes, it will be depending on how long the person is there for. This is more, as you can see there, is more for the daytime activities, our early help and prevention, and our autism and neurodiversity services that have a specific time frame. For example, some services only support for 12 weeks, some support for 12 months. So it's for those services that have a limited time frame for the support they provide. Next, we come to what facilities do we have? Again, this is in terms of disabled access and things like that. You might not have a facility that your service sort of provides. So, for example, if you're supporting someone in your own home, you can leave this question blank and just move on to the next one. So the next one is actually care home only. So again, if this is relevant for you, just move on to the next one. But do you offer respite care? And you can put in there that yes, we do, and you can just leave it as simple as that. So people will call you asking for more information, or you can say that you offer it for up to 2 weeks, or however long you'll provide respite care for. You may also want to put the number of respite placements you have available and things like that, but it's completely up to you how descriptive you are. So the next one's how the service is managed. So this is between services that have a housing and a care aspect to them. So again, you just detail if you provide both sides of it, or whether the housing provider is different to the care provider, you'll just detail it there. The size of a building, that's again for those that have a property that they support from. So care homes, extra care, supported living. What areas do we support in? So this is focused around the home support, or the services that don't provide the support from their address location. So in there, you could, for example, you could put the postcodes that you support in, or that you're a locality home support provider within the localities that you provide the support for people. Additional information. So if there is anything that we've missed out in the above that you wish to include in your profile, please feel free to enter it there. Next one is CQC ID. So this is actually an API that you can use. So if you just put in your CQC ID code there, a widget will then appear on your profile that will be linked to your CQC profile, so people can come onto your profile and connect to support, click on the widget and be taken through to your CQC account. The longitude and latitude are for us to use. So if you would please leave them blank. That again is for a little API widget, which is a what 3 words map. So on your profile, it will show where your location is. That is also used for your map pin on the Google Map on the listing page as well. So it will complete those for you. You leave those blank. It'll just make our job a little bit easier. Now, spare 1 and spare 2 are just questions that are left in there in order to make our lives a little bit easier when it comes to future development of the form. So if there's any questions that we feel like could need adding, we'll change that text to the question that needs to be included there. There's a complicated IT reason behind that. So if you just leave those, then they won't appear on your profile. So next come the attributes. So these are essentially the filters that are used to search for your services. So if I'm just going to go back to the profile here, so as you can see, you've got area, so that'll be linked to your address. You've got types of care. You've got types of care offered, and then you can reset the filter as well. You do also have Bradford provider list. That if you tick this on your profile, a little icon will come up saying that you're a Bradford provider list service. Please only tick that if that service is commissioned by the council. We will be reviewing these when you've submitted them. So if you're not commissioned by the council, we will be unticking it. But just make sure it just makes our lives a little bit easier if you only tick that when relevant. So for the purpose of this template, I will be ticking everything, but please make sure to only tick the attributes that are relevant to your service, because that is how people will find it. And you don't want someone to come to your service that's not relevant because they're ringing you thinking you provide equipment and you don't. So if you don't provide something, leave it blank, and that way you'll only appear on the relevant filter options. For the moment, we're going to have to ask you to tick unless you definitely don't have availability, please tick yes, because if you leave this blank, there is a slight little error that if you leave it blank, it automatically says no. So if you have availability or have potential availability, please make sure you tick yes, because otherwise it will automatically state no on your profile. If you like to include an image of your organization or of your service, you might want to put a picture of the front door, for example, or a picture of the support you provide. If you just choose a file here and click to include it, it'll appear next to your listing page. If you choose the file there, you can choose the same one. It'll then appear on your profile page. Again, the longitude and latitude can be ignored, as we'll complete that once you've submitted your profile. So that is a profile that is ready to be submitted. So if you scroll back up to the top, click submit. It'll take you back to the home page. That way you'll know it's been shared. If you do come to an error page, please feel free to email us at connect-to-support@bradford.gov.uk, just saying you've submitted it, but there was an error. Can you check if it's gone through? About 50% of the time, or 50-50, it will have gone through. The other 50, we'll have to ask you to complete again. We might ask you to complete the form again, or we might ask you to send us the details and we'll complete it in the admin area for you. That way you don't have to end up potentially doing it a third time if it doesn't work again. We might ask you for a little bit of a breakdown in terms of what you did, how long it took you and things like that, because there are some known issues, and that way we can just record where the form's going wrong. If you have completed and come to the home page, please give us up to 3 working days to complete it. It is a manual process in terms of reviewing and authorizing this request, so we will need to check it, physically check it on the system, and authorize it ourselves and make it public. So if you can give us up to 3 working days before you send a chaser email, it'll just give us time to do that. If you do have any questions, please contact connect-to-support@bradford.gov.uk and the team will be more than happy to help. Thank you.